For a long time, businesses relied on a simple assumption: demand was predictable, not perfectly, but close enough. You could look at past sales, identify patterns, factor in seasonality, and make fairly accurate forecasts. Companies built entire systems around this idea: inventory planning, hiring, production schedules, pricing strategies, and for years it worked. But that predictability is breaking down. Right now, across industries, companies are facing a new reality. Demand is becoming harder to predict, and it's creating one of the biggest challenges in modern business. Because when you can't predict demand, everything else becomes harder. This is why that shift is happening, and why it matters more than most people realize. The first reason is simple but powerful. Consumer behavior is changing faster than ever. In the past, buying patterns were relatively stable. People followed routines, preferences evolved slowly, trends took time to develop. Today, that's no longer the case. Social media, digital platforms, and constant information flow have accelerated everything. A product can go viral overnight and disappear just as quickly. Trends rise and fall in weeks instead of years. Customer preferences shift rapidly, often without warning. This creates volatility. What sells today might not sell tomorrow, and that makes forecasting much more difficult. Another major factor is economic uncertainty. Consumers are more cautious. They're adjusting their spending based on inflation, interest rates, job security, and overall confidence in the economy. But these factors are constantly changing. When people feel confident, they spend. When they feel uncertain, they pull back, and those shifts can happen quickly. This creates unpredictable demand swings across industries, from retail to travel to services. Companies can't rely on stable growth patterns anymore. They have to be prepared for sudden changes. There's also a shift in how people buy. The rise of e-commerce, mobile shopping, and on-demand services has changed purchasing behavior. Customers can buy anything, anytime, from anywhere. That sounds like a good thing, but it also fragments demand. Instead of steady, predictable sales, companies see spikes and dips, flash sales, limited-time offers, influencer-driven purchases. Demand becomes more dynamic and harder to model. Another important factor is product variety. Companies now offer more options than ever: more versions, more customization, more choices. While this increases customer appeal, it also spreads demand across more products. Instead of strong, consistent demand for a few items, companies see smaller, less predictable demand across many items. This makes inventory planning more complex and increases the risk of overstocking or stockouts. Supply chain dynamics also play a role. In the past, supply and demand were more tightly aligned, but today supply chains are more fragile. Delays, disruptions, and variability can affect availability, and when availability changes, demand patterns shift as well. For example, if a product is out of stock, customers may switch to alternatives or delay their purchase entirely. This creates distortions in demand data. What looks like a drop in demand might actually be a supply issue, and that makes forecasting even more challenging. There's also the impact of pricing. As companies adjust prices more frequently due to cost changes or strategic decisions, customer behavior responds. Higher prices can reduce demand. Discounts can create temporary spikes. Dynamic pricing creates variability, and all of this adds noise to demand patterns. Another major factor is competition. Markets are more crowded. Customers have more choices. Switching between brands is easier than ever. This means demand isn't just about what customers want, it's about what competitors are doing. A new product launch, a pricing change, or a marketing campaign from a competitor can quickly shift demand, and these external factors are hard to predict. Technology, ironically, is also contributing to the problem. While data and analytics have improved forecasting capabilities, they also reveal how complex demand really is. More data doesn't always mean more clarity. Sometimes it highlights how many variables are involved. Customer behavior, economic conditions, social trends, pricing, competition, all interacting in real time. This complexity makes accurate prediction harder, not easier. There's also a psychological shift happening. Consumers are becoming more selective. They're not just buying out of habit, they're making more intentional decisions. They're comparing options, reading reviews, waiting for the right moment. This reduces impulse buying in some areas and increases it in others. It creates uneven demand patterns, and uneven patterns are harder to forecast. Then there's the speed of change. In the past, companies had time to adjust. If demand started to shift, they could respond gradually. Today, changes happen faster. By the time a trend is identified, it may already be fading. This reduces the value of traditional forecasting methods. Historical data becomes less reliable when the future doesn't resemble the past, and that's a key issue. Forecasting models are built on history, but if history isn't a good guide, predictions become less accurate. So what does this mean for businesses? It means they have to rethink how they operate. Instead of relying heavily on prediction, they're focusing more on flexibility. Flexible supply chains, flexible production, flexible pricing. The goal is to respond quickly to changes rather than trying to predict them perfectly. Companies are also investing in real-time data. Instead of long-term forecasts, they're monitoring demand continuously and adjusting in the moment. Shorter planning cycles, faster decision-making, more adaptability. There's also a shift towards simplification, reducing product variety, focusing on core offerings, limiting complexity. Because the more variables you have, the harder it is to predict demand. And in an unpredictable environment, simplicity becomes an advantage. Another important change is in risk management. Companies are building buffers, holding more inventory, diversifying suppliers, preparing for uncertainty. This reduces the impact of demand volatility, but increases costs. So again, it's a trade-off, efficiency versus resilience. And many businesses are choosing resilience, because in today's world, being prepared for uncertainty is more valuable than being perfectly optimized. So when you look at the bigger picture, demand hasn't disappeared, but its behavior has changed. It's faster, more fragmented, more influenced by external factors, and less predictable. And that's forcing companies to evolve. Because the old model, predict, plan, execute, is no longer enough. The new model is different, sense, adapt, respond. Because in a world where demand is harder to predict, the real advantage isn't knowing what will happen, it's being ready for anything that does.